All right. Hi, guys. I'm just in between calls, and then I myself am going to be doing my ritual. I'm a little bit late with it because I had a bit of a full morning. So I did a really good post today. Read it. And part of what I wanted to do with that post is really kind of, expose and be transparent of the journey that all of us are taking with money. And I think sometimes there's a lot of guilt or shame that we can feel because we don't feel like, we just have a lot of shame and guilt sometimes. So I think it's helpful to see people that maybe we have or look up to or have success in a different way and hear kind of their struggles with it. I find it super helpful myself to listen to people's journeys with money that I look up to as well, because I think it's really good. So I want to just pop on here real quick before I get the rest of my afternoon going to share some pieces that I think are really powerful. Again, one of the things that why I'm sharing this too is the Women Who Run with Horses. There's a whole module on money and abundance, and I think it's important because, the reality of it is that we are in business because we're called to it. Or not necessarily in business, I should say, because money and abundance is there whether you're self-employed or not. So it's really not just for people that are self-employed. When we have a calling or a gift or purpose that we feel called to share, we are led by that place. And the reality is we all need to support ourselves. So that's why this is an important part of the conversation. So what happens is a lot of the time is that we operate from this sort of conditioning that we've had around money and abundance, and we just keep going. And praying doesn't always work, right? Positive affirmations doesn't always work. So we have to kind of be able to dig around to what does this actually look like? And then how do I implement the changes so that will shift? I do believe in the law of attraction. I believe in energy. And I think that there are layers to how we hold space for this. And one of the ones is to start to be really clear about and more conscious of how am I relating and holding money and abundance in my life right now, and where does that come from? I think a lot of the times things are just very unconscious, and we just go around and we have these patterns that just keep perpetuating themselves, and they don't, we don't shift it. So here's an example for me and the transparency of it. I've had incredible success, many people would probably love to have with the success of my business monetarily. And I have this pattern sometimes that shows up for me. I'm a very heavy investor in my dreams, and I've done this stuff where I've invested everything that I've had into building my dream and my purpose. The first time around, I had a savings that I put into a property I didn't own, invested in a round pen so that I could empower my work. This time I bought a ranch, and I put everything, every penny that I had, on lending or whatever to empower this place. And so I have this cycle sometimes where I give so much of myself, and then I have to kind of build my way out of it again. So whether that probably pattern was unconscious a little bit. So as I'm looking to go to the next level of expansion or mastery or whatever with money, I had to look at that. So one of the things that is about the journey of this is really understanding what pattern are we currently in? How are we feeling about money? Where does it come from? What have we been conditioned to? And then creating a space where we can start to reset those belief systems. It's just like anything else, right? And I think the thing that happens sometimes, and I know this for myself, so I'm sharing this from my personal, journey. When we have something that we're passionate about that feels really closely connected to our gifts, sometimes it's difficult for us to sort of rectify the allowing of, exchange of money to come through in relationship to that, which makes it a little bit sticky if we're trying to create income based on our gifts, if we're not comfortable with that exchange. So I'm somebody that, I used to say for years, I wish I could just give everything away for free. That would be way more comfortable. Because there's a part of me that feels guilty about sort of that exchange and receiving of money. And one of the things that I kind of connected to it for this portion of my journey was the conditionality that sometimes exists when we're receiving. And it's not just money, it goes beyond. So, part of the work around here is really kind of drilling down into where do these core kind of patterns come from, And once we identify what those are, then we can do something with it. Then we can sort of consciously engage with this energy in a different way in our lives. It's just we can't do that when we don't know, we're kind of blind to it. So there's the common ones I think that a lot of us will share. I think, that the fear of not having enough, or that it's bad to have money. One of the things I've had to work through is it's not spiritual to want wealth. So I'm not going to stay in the purity of my intention in my work if I want money. There's something about money equates that it's not pure. So, there's things that we have to sort of look at where they come from, where we hold it in our body, and then we create a journey around that. And it is a journey and it is a practice. I think what happens sometimes, and this is sort of my own learning of it, as I've been looking again to sort of shift this energy for a long time, some of the practices, and to be honest, I have a daily ritual. Money isn't always a part of that daily ritual, because a part of me is I want to sort of avoid or deny that part of my life, or it makes me really uncomfortable or have fear. So I've learned to sort of really incorporate and come back to incorporate money as part of that, overall ritual that I do, that I'm trying to amplify different belief systems. The thing about money and abundance too is it's such an incredible catalyst for growth and expansion. I think there's so many triggers that we have around it. Again, conditioning from our family, or even there's stuff I've been journeying through right now for my lineage. I'm Jewish. And one of the things that has come up through some of my journaling is, for Jewish people, we were, the Holocaust happened. And there's this sort of stereotype of, Jews having wealth. And that was a piece of, I don't think it was all of it, but that sort of view of success was threatening. And so it was literally, I think in some ways, just not safe to be seen in that way. So one time I was journaling about just in my lineage, of being Jewish, this sort of fear of it's not safe to have money. It's not safe to have success. You can be, your physical, the safety of yourself could be challenged with that. And I'm sure that we've all had sort of that happen in either past lives or stuff. So I believe in all that. So it's looking at what those are. So it's deeper. It's not just about money. Money is a symbolism of something. Abundance is a symbolism of something. It represents something that is occurring and unfolding in our life. And if we're not conscious to that, it's just going to continue to create the same thing. So I've somebody who I've had moments where I've been on my knees praying okay, something's got to shift here. But I've had to do the work. It's prayer I don't think is enough. And sometimes, one of the things that I pray about is courage and clarity and an understanding of how do I hold this in a different way. What's been really cool is I've looked to sort of my land and my horses to give me a different anchor point and understanding of how do I hold this energy. Because it's not about a number. It's not chasing the number. Because if we just keep chasing a number, I'm going to manifest a number and I'm going to need to manifest it again. So I'd rather just, have a place where I feel open and allowing of this energy to come into my life than perpetually chasing a number. And that was one of the things I really kind of found for this year. It was I don't want to chase a number. I want to hold an energy that is more allowing and empowering of the abundance I'm seeking to create in my life, period. Money being a part of it. So it's just sort of understanding also where our alignment is, because I think a lot of the times chasing a number isn't always where our alignment is. And then once we're able to kind of understand how we're wanting to shift things, what it looks like, then we kind of go on the journey. So one of the things I like to do, and again, I'm trying to be the Women Who Run with Horses, a whole module on this stuff that's going to be really good. But I'll give you some pieces here. In terms of getting to what's at the core of it, how do I currently feel about money? How do I want to feel about money and abundance? And if I were to know what's at the core of this, what would that be? So sometimes I just start journaling with that prompt, what's at the core? And then I let whatever come up, right? So what's at the core of this? So that's one piece. The other piece of it is then sort of looking at the other question, what's going to be my alignment of holding abundance. And sometimes it's not what you think at all. Like sometimes it is, if I enter into the space of unconditional love for myself, I'm going to open up the doors to abundance. Sometimes, like for me, I've been noticing this theme of like self-sacrificing, and the reason why I might block things is I'm afraid I'm going to like completely give too much of myself that I'll have nothing left. So there's sort of this idea of not having support. So one of my spaces that I spend time with in my ritual is just that feeling of feeling supported, because that's something that part of me needs, because it identifies that, you know, there's some belief system that says more money equals more sacrifice. So that's what I want to rewire. And so I want to spend time with an energy that is opposite of that fear of self-sacrifice. And so what is that? So it's sometimes not exactly what we think it is. It's finding the alignment of what is it that I need to feel like I can allow that energy to come in, or the part of me that's feeling resistance, where do I shift that? So these are just like some pieces. I don't know if this is landing or not. But it's a journey, you know, it's essentially a journey. So I look at it as it's an opportunity for me to be more deeply aligned. And I want to get curious of what's at the core, what are the patterns that I'm holding that maybe I'm not conscious about, and really identifying those. What's the shift that I'm wanting to create? And what's the resonance that's going to allow me to shift how I feel about it? And then when we go into our day-to-day life, like when it comes to having to pay my bills or whatever, I'm very conscious of the energy that I want to hold behind that, instead of just blindly going about my day and not thinking about. So it goes against like it. You know, one of the things that used to happen to me is every time I got a client and they paid me money, I would like contract, because I would be like, oh my God, can I take this? Is it going to be valuable? Am I going to give them something? You know, I've never had anybody ask for a refund on my programs. Usually they say I'm very generous and I should be charging more, as more, you know, what I get told. But I have that contraction. So my practice becomes, when I have an exchange with a client, that I'm open and available and I'm receptive and I'm grateful for that exchange, instead of feeling like I'm not worthy of it or guilt. So it's really being aware of how are we relating to it. So these are some of the pieces that have, but you know, I think the biggest thing is, I know that, and I know this for myself, I've had a tremendous amount of shame and guilt around where I think I could have been better about how I've managed my money, or that, you know, I have debt, even though it's been to the business. There's sort of this idea that I should know better, and I've been able to create, and why haven't I? And so what was been super helpful for me is looking into mentors that have been on that journey too, that I look up to, and they say, listen, you know, I've had debt and worked through it too. So the shame and the guilt sometimes is our biggest thing, where we think we should have been able to shift things by now, or we're upset about where we find ourselves, and it can be very disheartening. That it's a journey that we're all on, and you know, there's nothing that you're doing wrong. It's just, I think one of the things that I believe, when we come down to this earth, we choose to grow through different things, and money just happens to be one of those things that catalyzes growth, and growth is uncomfortable. And yes, we need money to survive, and so it kind of like rubs against that basic desire for security. And you know, we can definitely shift and move through that. So, you know, I just wanted to share that transparency, because I think we see so much. Also, I noticed for myself, like there's a woman I've been following for a while, and it was great to hear her say in an email of where she like had this great success and then went back into debt. And it's like, okay, so other people are on this kind of roller coaster ride too, because we get triggered in different places. So it's okay. I sort of wanted to be an example of that. And then and to share that a piece of, you know, what I feel passionate about holding space for, because it is something I've journeyed through and I have mastered elements of it. It's a continual process to really hold space for this part of our you know, our lives and our energy, because it's important, and we can't do the things that we want to do in the world if we feel so held down by this energy. So this is a component to the Women Who Run with Horses program that we're journeying through in the 12 weeks, is really holding space for this and shifting that, so we can have a different relationship and a different outcome and a different input. And I'll be sharing, you know, some of my personal rituals, things that have been very powerful, and then also helping people identify what's theirs, and some different teachings and stuff that have been really good. So you got to go in the program to get that, though, if it resonates. So Women Who Run with Horses, 12 weeks, this is a big piece of it. Or if you just needed to sort of hear that and you know, be with it wherever you are and how it fits with where you are right now. I do really am conscious about when people invest in working with me. One of the things that's really important is that I hold that investment with care, which means that a piece of what we do together is really looking at that relationship. So my desire and my intention for this is that you see a tangible shift in that and a different manifestation of what that's bringing you. So that's that. Okay. Questions, comments, let me know. If this is resonating or helpful for you, let me know. I know it's a little bit, sometimes it can be an uncomfortable topic for us to talk about, but I was happy to extend that today. All right, guys. So I'm off. I get to spend an afternoon with some awesome women doing a series, a leadership series at the ranch. So I get to play with the ponies this afternoon. So super excited about that. And also this shit works. Can I tell you? As I shared, like I had I don't know why May has been a weird month, but this last week has been kind of very abundant with, retreat bookings and inquiries and, privates and with this program. So it shifts and I get the ride of it too. So that's it. All right, guys, questions, comments, let me know, resonate. I'll comment afterwards and y'all have a good Thursday.